let's do it. I didn't hear from anybody, obviously. Well, I can get into that in a second, but let's call the meeting to order. It is 7:03, 7:03. Okay, call to order. Okay, welcome to your late summer edition of the Bristol Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. We took the last month off. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Our first order of business, since we've got a couple people here, and we can do this, is the review and approval of the June meeting minutes. Before we approve them and ask if there's any issues with them, Brad, I will note that when I logged on to Zoom tonight, it did not offer me a recording of a transcript of the last meeting for whatever reason. I don't know if that's some kind of an anomaly or something like that. We do have meeting minutes from the last meeting. But there's also, I had mentioned on a couple of the previous meetings, we've also got the actual transcript to review. That certainly doesn't break out things like action steps, but it is absent currently in the share. I'm going to try to track it down. I only just noticed it. Like I said, as soon as I logged in, it did not offer it up to me. So we'll find out from there. So, are there any adjustments or anything? Hi, Sally. Good to see you. Are there any adjustments or comments on our our June meeting minutes? Okay, with that then, can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June?
I'll first that, or I make yep. Sorry, brain is scrambled right
No
now.
worries, no worries. We've got had a month off, so and then can I get a second, please?
I'll second that.
Great. Okay, we're gonna jump into public forum. I will note that I do have a note from the public on public forum. Somebody had emailed ahead of time that they would not be able to join. So I do have one thing that I'm going to just read the email, and there'll be action steps around it on my end. But is there any public comment for this month? Okay, then I'll read an email that I got from one of the townspeople. His name is James Cole. The email is as follows. Hi, Chris. I can't make this month's meeting, but I did want to pass on a thought that has been on my mind for a while. The pedestrian signs placed in the middle of the street, like the ones near St. Ambrose and on North Street, add awareness for pedestrians. However, they actually make the intersections less safe for cyclists. When drivers and cyclists pass through the intersection at the same time, vehicles cannot cross the center line to move away from the cyclist. Just wanted to pass the thought along and see if maybe the committee had any thoughts on an affordable, effective alternative. Maybe two signs, one on each side, would allow the vehicles to use the middle of the road. Thanks, James Cole. I'll hold off. I have an opinion as well as a comment regarding what Ian has told us about the bollards before, but does anybody have any comments or anything on
Yeah.
that as it stands?
Well, yeah, I've found that as a bicyclist, I take the lane when I see a car is coming behind me, and that basically gets cars used to that happening when there's a squeeze in a road.
Yeah.
It's like showing this is what you do. You know, if the bicyclist is in front of you and there's an obstacle, you just hold back and let the bicyclists make their turn or go through that area. So I think it's a really good teaching opportunity to keep it that way.
Other comments?
Chris, could you read to me again? I'm just trying to, in my mind's eye, envision like where he's talking about.
So there's actually, let's see, he mentions San Ambrose and North Street. There's actually two others, Dustin, that you're probably more familiar, at least two others that you're probably more familiar with. There's one right near the Creamy Stand, bollard right in the middle right in the middle of the road where the crosswalk is, and there's also one on Liberty. They're not always there. They get taken off to the side, but there's one on Liberty where the crosswalk
Oh,
goes.
okay. The sort of round thing that's like
Yeah, and it stands up.
those.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I know what he's talking about now.
I think
So, sorry,
generally,
Sally.
I think generally it's to help drivers slow down when they're coming to an important intersection.
Hmm.
And it does do that, but it does squeeze it narrow, so it's harder when a bicyclist is there. Yeah.
When Ian first told us about the bollards now 2.5 years ago or something, and I don't know if they had been in place at that point in time, but he did mention them in the context of a traffic calming measure, something that was designed to slow, exactly what Sally said, something that was designed to slow traffic down automatically, regardless of whether there was anybody in the crosswalk at the time. From my own experience, so I have two comments. One is from my own experience. What I have seen is that cars do slow down because they understand that two objects cannot, whether you're in the lane or whether you're in the shoulder, and some of the shoulders are very narrow, two objects cannot occupy that space at the same time. So I have noticed when I'm on a bike, especially at the one at the creamy stand, that cars absolutely do slow down and let the bicycle go through first. The bigger thing, and I will check this with Ian, but I am almost 100% sure that regardless of the bollard, in any situation, the overtaking vehicle is the burdened vehicle. They are the ones that have to yield to the vehicle, whether it's a pedestrian, a bicycle, or otherwise, that is in front of them. So if that area gets tight, they have to actually slow down before and wait until it is safe to pass if a bike is in the bike lane. That is the rule of the road. Um, and I know that that doesn't make it safer necessarily to somebody who's not paying attention behind the wheel of a car, but the law is in favor of the person in the bike lane at that point because they're the one being overtaken.
Uh, I agree. I mean, my opinion on it is the bollard is going to be helpful. Just its presence there is going to alert the driver. It's going to make it more clear that, okay, there's a crosswalk that block there. I need to be more aware. I need to slow down. So as a cyclist, that's going to help me. And I get it. You know, I ride a lot. Not every car gives you 4 feet when it goes by, like it should. And that bollard being there in the middle makes it so that they're going to hit the bollard if they give you 4 feet. But that driver that is doing that with that there, they're that they're just a bad driver. I
There,
mean,
yeah,
you can't stop people who are bad.
no,
The presence of that bollard should make that driver slow down more, and they should adjust their speed so that they're not going around you as the cyclist right where that bollard is to have to come that close to you. So I'd rather the bollard be there than not be there to calm the traffic on the road I'm cycling on.
yeah, I agree, and I also I think about why the bollard is there. There's a crosswalk for pedestrians. And
Right.
that's just a signal that's not as invasive as the assisted crosswalks. That's there to do what you just said, Dustin, to slow
Right.
to momentarily slow somebody down as they're going through an area.
And not to mention, like, I feel like a lot, especially at North Street or where there's heavy kid traffic going up to the school. So
Mhm.
I feel like calling awareness to that for the kids is important as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Dustin, I'm sorry. It sounds like you're
Oh
going to say
no,
something.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I meant to mute myself.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to forward that to Ian and just check with him. I'm going to mention to the person who sent it that thanks, we brought it up. We're going to check with the select board on it. We know the history of why they're there. And again, the person obviously is using them from a pedestrian standpoint, but is certainly concerned that it does make things constrained for cyclists. So I will forward that along. And if anybody has any follow-up or anything like that, any action steps or anything like that, that they also want me to bring to Ian and the gang, please let me know.
I just want to say that I think it is worth, at some point in that discussion, just saying to even Ian maybe that this is an opportunity for bicyclists to move into the lane and take the lane. So they're signaling, instead of not trying to get really on the side and say, oh, maybe you can go by,
Yeah,
like make it clear so the car's like, oh yeah, that bicyclist needs this space right now. So I think it's worth saying that.
I will. I'm
Somewhere.
typing that up right now. I'll mention that to Ian.
Great.
That's great. I like you've mentioned this language a couple, to take the lane.
I think
Could,
it's a chance for learning. It's not like who's bad and who's good or not good or anything, but it's basically, hey, this is just a new thing for drivers to some degree, and it's just a helpful way to bring attention to this situation.
Yep. Brad, did it sound
uh,
like you had something?
well, yeah, I was just wondering if like a yield for cyclists or some sort of call out for how to interact with cyclists as well, could be either attached to or put next to that sign, just as a way of like, I don't know, bringing that awareness one step further, I guess.
I'm sure many of you have seen the markings and signage that say cyclists may use full lane, which is effectively what that is. I wonder, I know that there's been talk of things in that direction. But I think to your point, Brad, that might be something that could be addressed either via signage or road marking or something like that. The one challenge, obviously, and it's this constant debate that all of us have, and none of us work for the Vermont DOT, but the Creamy Stand is technically a state route. So obviously that one might fall under something different, though I believe the town did the crosswalk markings and informed where that got moved to when it got moved from Maple Fields to east of Maple. So okay, any other public forum for,
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
The last thing I want to say about this whole thing is anytime I signal that, I need to take the lane for whatever reason, going around the rock down there on East Street, or I always afterwards wave kindly to
yeah,
the driver and like as a thank you, like, hey, cool, we're in this together, we're all buds here.
I wave whenever anybody gives me room. I've done that for years. And then likewise, I give everybody as much room as I safely can. So, okay, I just made a note on that. All right, just cut and paste James's name. Okay. Then let's move on to grants and quarterly initiatives. Something I was thinking about in the time off was, now that we're into August and going into September, taking a minute. Oh, actually, no, I'll wait. I'll wait till I'll wait till our other business to mention this, but just hitting the reset button on our efforts and taking a week or two in advance of the next meeting we have, to come with new ideas from a structural standpoint, just on how we run the committee, how it's structured, how we want to define success moving forward, how we want to prioritize things moving forward, so that these meetings can turn into a little bit more action, on my end, on our end, across the board. Obviously, we remain slightly constrained when it comes to voting, and I have a note on that, um, given the quorum rules. But regardless, I would love to hear everybody's opinions on how we can become more action oriented. And then one of the things that I'll suggest right now is that anything that we suggest and anything that we do moving forward, um, the responsibilities for moving those things forward are shared across the group, so that we don't come out of meetings without somebody's name attached to something. And that obviously all that, all the responsibility for making sure things move forward is currently on my shoulders. It's not to dodge that. It's to it's to drive more accountability on my end, but also to just again to come out of these meetings with more action steps assigned to individuals so that we can move things so that we're not hidebound by any one person or another. That and I chose the grants and initiatives moment in time to say that so that we can again regroup in the wake of a lot of things. Obviously, grants have shrunk. They haven't completely disappeared, but we have to kind of in our forward planning for next year be be aggressive slash realistic. So that's kind of what my goal is for September is how can we come out of our September meeting being prepared to be both aggressive about grants as well as realistic about them. Does anybody have any comments on initiatives and grants at this time? All right. We'll go on to other business then. I have what I hope will be exciting news. What's been interesting is in this and in the fact that I don't fully get to announce this is probably indicative of a backlog. I know it's been hectic at the town hall with them trying to hire a new town admin and it's summertime and all of that. I've noticed a handful of town committee or select board um, assigned committees punting their meetings for a couple months in a row now. So, and that's why I didn't feel too bad about canceling last month's when I saw another one cancel their second or third one in a row. But that all said, I believe we are going to be having a new board member joining us. So about a month and a half ago, someone who was new to the village reached out to me for information on the committee. I shared the share with him, gave him just sort of rough outline of what we did. He filled out the volunteer application, submitted it to the town hall, and has not heard back. So I'm going to let me, and I just found out when I reached out to him 2 days ago. I said, "Hey, Zach, um, have you heard back from the town? Have you heard back from the select board yet?" And he goes, "Actually, no, I haven't," which is interesting because I know that they were very quick with all the other board seats over the past, over the past however many years. So I'll reach out to Jessica and Ian and just mention, hey, I know that someone new in town had reached out. I looked into him. He's a cyclist. I believe he walks slash bikes to commute to work. And he reached out proactively, which is always a super good sign. His name is Zach Patel. So I don't know if any of you knew him. And Brad, you're nodding your head. You might have, maybe he's okay. But I believe he's in or near the village. And I sent him, I actually copied him on the agenda for this week that you were all on yesterday or whenever I sent it. Um, or maybe it might have been this morning, apologies. Just to get him up and running. He wasn't able to make tonight's meeting because he's out of town, but I very much look forward to him being here next time around, hopefully. One way or the other, whether he's on the board or not, hopefully. But hopefully it isn't going to take much to have the select board approve his application. So I feel like that's pretty good news. Does anybody have any other business? I have one other thing to bring to the select board, but before I do, I want to give anybody else any chance to bring anything up now before I do it.
It's not. I guess maybe just an update if you know anything. I'm curious about. I remember discussion a while back about a sidewalk on Airport Drive. Is that something that's happening or when? What? Because I mean, I'm just curious because I know Mount Abe is in a paving project right now. They're paving a lot of stuff. I know it's, that's not part of Mount Abe's project. But I kind of remember it being something that was kind of in the plans that the town was doing. I'm just curious of the timing of it.
I know I haven't been in any of the select board meetings, but I know that there have been progress reports on it, Dustin. So last I knew, it was moving forward, possibly out of the planning stages and into whatever the next steps are. But I do know it's been on a couple of the town meeting, or whether it was the select board or design review. It was in the mix. It was actually forward movement. Looked like it was happening.
Okay. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, does anybody else know anything else on it? Okay, I'm gonna just note, Dustin, you brought that up. Sidewalk. Okay, and then, thank you. And then the third agenda item for other items is wondering if somebody else would like to volunteer for the secretary position. That's at Brad's request. He just wants, we're putting it out there as a hedge, just in case Brad's schedule, given any number of reasons, gets to be a little either less predictable, or there's moments where with a newborn in the house, he's not completely able to perform secretary duties. Was wondering if anybody would like to volunteer, and I know I'm throwing it out there where we're too short on the committee tonight. Certainly, it can be the kind of thing that we do when we assigned the previous two secretary roles, is the new person gets the job. So we can maybe have Zach jump on that. But if Dustin or Sally, if you're feeling in any way, shape, or form secretarial, we won't discourage you from putting your hands up. But like I said, we can certainly suggest that it's a great way for our next new member, or more importantly, I think we can, and it's also something that we can broach via email, and then vote on at the very beginning of the next meeting, with our other two board members who are out right now. And Dustin, I know
I'm a
sorry.
terrible typer and slow, and I'd be terrible at it.
No worries.
It for me, I just often for me to attend these meetings, sometimes I'm doing it like from the soccer center while my daughter's at soccer, or at bases loaded where my son's practicing baseball, or I'm on a team bus on the way back from a game or something like that. So it's just I don't always I'm more, I don't know, just the timing of the meetings and my family schedule and coaching obligations. I'm more often from my cell phone and not on a laptop or a Chromebook where typing's an option.
Got it.
So that's my reluctance to volunteers. I just know that I'm like sometimes just being at the meeting at all, like I apologize. I sometimes, like, life gets in the way and can't be there, but often when I am able to attend, I'm not at full capacity and available with a device that has a keyboard to to type.
Understood.
My apologies.
Understood. No worries. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll note it to the gang in the meeting follow up from here, and then we'll deal with it at the beginning. We'll deal with it offline, and then arrive at a conclusion, a satisfactory conclusion at the beginning of the next meeting. All right. Okay, so are there any other things? And again, I want to underscore sort of our homework for coming into the next meeting, which is, let's think about actionability and prioritization, and even just structural changes to how we run meetings, how we run initiatives moving forward, so that in the last quarter of the year, we can set ourselves up for 2026 with action in mind. So keep that in the back of your minds. I'll note it obviously in the follow-up email to this meeting. That all said, anybody have anything else for this month? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn then? Sally first. Can I
I'll
get a
second.
second? Brad seconds. I will call it at 7:28 then by the clock. Hold on, Brad seconds. 7:28. With that said, thanks so much everyone for joining. See you offline, and enjoy back to school, enjoy everything.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
everybody.
Reading it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim.